They say the line between medicine and madness has always been thin. Throughout history, desperate people have turned to remedies so unthinkable, so unsettling, that today they sound more like horror stories than cures. Now, imagine living in ancient China, where your doctor, the very person you trust with your life, leans in close and whispers that the secret to healing you lies not in herbs or prayers, but in blood. Not just any blood, human blood. Yes, it sounds grotesque, but for centuries, blood was more than a bodily fluid to the ancient Chinese. It was life itself. To drink blood was to drink vitality, to swallow the very essence of survival. And this wasn't the work of madmen on the fringes of society. Some of the most respected doctors of the ancient world believed in it. Picture a physician, clad in silk robes, summoned to the bedside of a nobleman writhing in agony. The household is silent except for groans of pain. The doctor opens his kit. Not just herbs, not just needles for acupuncture, but a small porcelain cup, waiting for something far darker. He prescribes not soup or tea, but a sip of blood. The nobleman's attendants stare in horror, but in this moment, their fear is outweighed by desperation. Why? Because in the ancient Chinese worldview, blood was more than biology. It was qi, the vital force that animated everything. Lose too much blood, they believed, and you lost not just your strength, but pieces of your very soul. So what could restore it faster than drinking blood itself? To them, it made sense. It was not superstition alone. It was a logical extension of their medical philosophy. But here's the twist. The doctors didn't always use their patients' blood. Sometimes, the remedy demanded fresh, healthy blood, often drawn from the young. In records from the Tang and Ming dynasties, there are chilling accounts of doctors ordering the blood of servants, children, or even family members, all in the name of healing. Imagine being a young boy, summoned into a noble's chamber, a small cut made on your arm while your master drinks from a bowl, believing your life force will merge with his and make him whole again. Disturbing, yes. But this was medicine in its rawest form. No boundaries between science and ritual, between healing and sacrifice. One famous record speaks of Emperor Taizu of the Song dynasty. When gravely ill, his physicians recommended human blood as a tonic. Courtiers, desperate to save their ruler, reportedly offered their own veins, cutting themselves open in loyalty. Whether it cured him or not is lost to history, but the act alone reveals just how normalized the practice was at the highest levels of society. And this wasn't only about healing sickness. Blood was believed to strengthen the weak, revive the faint, and even serve as a cure for tuberculosis. Doctors claimed that a few drops of warm blood could stimulate the heart, fortify the lungs, and restore balance to the body's qi. To modern ears, it's grotesque. But for people who had no antibiotics, no modern medicine, it was a gamble worth taking. Here's where psychology comes in. Think about being that patient. You've been told nothing else will save you. Every herb, every treatment has failed. But then the doctor, revered as a scholar and healer, tells you that salvation lies in a ritual that feels primal and ancient. And when you taste that blood, thick and metallic, you believe. And belief itself can be powerful. Placebo or not, some patients swore they felt stronger, more alive. For them, it worked. Yet not all blood was considered equal. Doctors in ancient Chinese texts distinguished between male and female blood, young and old, sick and healthy. The most prized was often from the young, who were seen as pure, their qi uncorrupted by age or illness. This made the practice even darker, because sometimes it wasn't voluntary. There are chilling stories of servants bled dry for their master's recovery, their lives treated as expendable vessels of vitality. And still, it wasn't entirely dismissed as quackery. Even the great medical compendiums, like Li Shizhen's Benqiao Gongmu, the Compendium of Materia Medica, written in the 16th century, mention human blood as a medicinal ingredient. It was classified alongside herbs, minerals, and animal parts, woven into the tapestry of Chinese pharmacology. Li described its supposed ability to stop bleeding, strengthen the body, and drive out evil toxins. Imagine that. The most authoritative medical encyclopedia of its time endorsing something we now recoil from. But here's the eerie part. This wasn't unique to China. Across the world, in Europe, corpse medicine had nobles drinking powdered skulls or human fat. In ancient Rome, gladiator blood was drunk to cure epilepsy. Blood drinking as medicine was a global phenomenon. But in China, it merged seamlessly into their philosophy of qi, yin, and yang, and the vital substances that kept the body alive. So how did it all end? Slowly, with the rise of more scientific approaches in the late imperial period, human blood began to fade from the medical texts. It was replaced by herbal substitutes, tonics, and acupuncture refinements. But whispers of it continued, especially in rural traditions, where desperate families sometimes resorted to it well into the Qing dynasty. Think about that. You're standing in a dimly lit hut in the 1800s, your child coughing blood from tuberculosis. The village healer tells you to mix fresh blood into broth. It's your only hope. Do you refuse? Or do you, like countless others before you, try it, clinging to the chance that life force could be transferred sip by sip? It's horrifying, but it's also profoundly human. When stripped of options, people will do anything to survive. That's the psychology at the heart of this story. Not blind superstition, but desperation, the instinct to cling to life at any cost. So next time you think about ancient medicine, don't just laugh at how bizarre it was. Remember that behind every sip of blood, there was someone terrified of death, someone desperate to save a loved one, someone trusting their doctor when all else failed. And maybe that's the real horror here. Not that doctors prescribed blood, but that people were willing to believe it worked. Because in a way it did. Not scientifically, not biologically, but psychologically. And sometimes, in the darkest corners of history, belief was the most powerful medicine of all.